There are victories, and then there are historic victories, like the one we just witnessed in the Democratic primary.
It may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now. Thanks to you, we've reached a milestone. The first time in our nation's history that a woman will be a major party's nominee for President of the United States.
8 years after the day that she gave her concession speech during Barack Obama's '08 path to victory, and 100 years after the first woman was elected to Congress, Hillary Clinton was beaming last night. But it appears Bernie Sanders still hasn't gotten the memo.
We will continue to fight for every vote and every delegate we can get. Our vision will be the future of America.
Will it, though? Joining me now is someone who endorsed Clinton way back in August, a lifetime ago in this election cycle. She's the Attorney General of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. Congratulations, Attorney General.
Well, I'm so happy about it.
Are you happy because she was your candidate, who you obviously think would make great president, or because she's also the first woman to be a nominee for the presidency?
Well, look, it is historic. We haven't seen this yet, and it's a great thing to witness. So many people have worked so hard to see this day come to pass. But I'm excited because Hillary Clinton is going to be a fantastic president. I mean, that's what this is about for me, and I think that's what this is about for American voters. Who's going to make the next 4 years better for you? We've now got a choice, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Pretty stark in terms of the differences and what each is bringing to the table, so to speak. But that's what this is about. Who's going to make life better for you? And I know Hillary Clinton's going to do just that.
Can we stay on the woman issue for a minute? When she said this is the first time a woman has been the nominee of a major party, I think we knew that. And it seemed to me that she was saying, by the way, some of you should vote for me because I'm a woman. You didn't stand up and say, I'm the first openly gay Attorney General. Barack Obama didn't say, I'm the first black nominee for president. Did she need to say and tell us last night that she was the first woman to be the nominee of a party?
Well, I think it's pretty evident.
Exactly. That was my point.
But I'll tell you what. No, but I think the point is this. This is a historic moment, and I think it's important to acknowledge the fights that many have waged, not just for decades, but for centuries, Jim, when it comes to gender equality and advancement of women's equality and rights in this country. But I'll tell you, Hillary Clinton is making the case on behalf of all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians either. And the case is simple. What do you want the next 4 years to be about? Who do you trust? Who do you think is going to deliver? And who's going to take us backwards?
People don't trust her. How does she fix that?
Oh, I don't accept that. I think that we now got a choice in this race. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. You want to talk about trust? You want to talk about the most divisive, derisive, hate-filled, fear-mongering tactics that we've seen?
That's sort of like he's even more less trustworthy than she is, rather than how does she pump up her own numbers?
Hillary Clinton just needs to be Hillary Clinton, and she needs to talk about, you go back years back from the time she left the state of Massachusetts and graduated from Wellesley College.
Mm-hmm.
The fights she took on early on behalf of children and families in
Legal
Arkansas.
Services Corporation when I was a young legal services lawyer.
I think she was the first female chair of that, first female partner at a law firm. I mean, Hillary Clinton has been in the trenches, out of the limelight for a long period, and had been, and then became very much a public figure. She just needs to talk about her values, her principles, the agenda she's trying to advance. And at the end of the day, I think when voters start to really focus on this, and they think about the next 4 years, and they think about economic security, and they think about how we can grow an economy, and they think about where we are in the world, the choice is clear.
Let's talk about some of your priorities. The transgender public accommodations bill didn't just pass in both branches. Overwhelming majorities. House included language that says to your office to issue guidance or regulations for referring to the appropriate law enforcement agency or other authority for legal action any person who asserts gender identity for an improper purpose. As a half-assed lawyer, it seems to me totally unnecessary that you have that kind of power. but it made Charlie Baker comfortable enough that he said, I endorse that version. If the House version is what comes out of conference committee, I'll sign it. Are you okay with that language?
Well, you know, and I would never characterize you as such.
Well, I am what I am.
But I'll
go
tell you.
ahead.
But I'll tell you. You know, here's the deal. This is whether you look at the House version or the Senate version, they're both in the right direction. It's got to work its way through through conference, and I will be prepared. Our office will be prepared to follow whatever is the law.
But are you okay with this language?
I am, in the sense that there are any number of instances where laws are passed and they kick it to us to offer guidance. Do I think it's particularly necessary? No. That said, we're going to work with whatever comes out of this process. The important thing here, Jim, is that we get this law in place. It's been a priority for our office. This will make such a difference, fundamentally profound difference in the lives of transgender kids and families, transgender people in the state. We need to get it done, and we need to get it done now. So I'm heartened by the momentum and the progress here. It's why we launched our Everyone Welcome campaign a few weeks ago, and we'll be prepared to act.
Let's talk about no progress for a minute. You joined 13 attorneys general, the police chief in Boston, and a bunch of others at the White House on gun violence issues. I think the primary focus you were there for was this unconscionable notion that there's a legislative bar on the CDC even doing research into gun issues. Is that not correct?
It's outrageous. People probably don't realize this, but years ago, through intense lobbying by the NRA, Congress essentially took away the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's ability to really study the effects of gun violence and trauma that would really help us identify better prevention and intervention strategies. And they defunded like 96% of it. So, what we have said is, look, we're attorneys generals, we're in law enforcement, we're about public safety. And one of the things that needs to happen is that hold needs to be loosened on CDC. We ought to study this.
The guy who filed the original amendment years ago,
he even says that.
He's on the other side now.
Because, the fact of the matter is this, Jim. We have for far too long have had a divisive debate in this country about the Second Amendment. It's over. Respect the Second Amendment, but recognize we got a public health crisis on our hands. 90 Americans die a day from guns. Another 200 are shot. Just this afternoon in Dorchester, outside of the Burke High School, we had 3 people shot, 1 killed. So what we are trying to do as AGs is frame this as a public health crisis, talk about it as a public health crisis. We're taking that fight to Washington. We're working here with the medical community, though, to think about ways we can train our physicians to talk to kids about gun safety and gun violence prevention measures.
I want to add one thing to the list, though, and I'm not pipe dream stuff. Very quickly, smart guns. It came up in your campaign with Warren Tolman. He said he could do it by regulation. You said, I'm going to do it legislatively. And the notion is no kid could ever shoot himself. No kid could ever shoot his or her sibling. No stolen gun could ever be used on a cop or a civilian. Are you working on this at all? Are we getting
Absolutely.
anywhere? Only the owner could use a gun.
So let me tell you. So 2 weeks ago, I went to the White House and I spoke, and we also had a lot of discussions about a number of topics. One of the topics was President Obama's executive order saying, let's study smart guns. That's good. We need to identify any new technology that's going to make guns safer and that will protect public health. So that's on the table, along with a whole other host of measures that we need to implement and undertake now.
For my blood pressure purposes, I want to quickly ask you about what's happening in our state. One of your priorities as a campaigner, as Attorney General, is dealing with sexual violence on college campuses. When you read stories about places like WPI, which says we're not blaming the victim, everybody knows, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. A student goes to Puerto Rico, university leased housing, is raped by a security guard. Here's what the lawyers for WPI's insurance company said. Did your parents ever tell you to not take candy from strangers? Did you ever consider, I'm paraphrasing now, you shouldn't have gone to the roof with a guard? Essentially, that she partly caused her own rape. What's your reaction to that kind of thing?
Fire those lawyers. It's outrageous, and it's this is part of the problem and part of what we need to change when it comes to the culture around sexual assault, domestic violence even. It is outrageous that would be offered as some sort of defense in this case. My heart goes out to the victim, any victim of sexual assault, sexual violence. We're working on these issues every day, Jim, and we're going to continue to press on it, but I find that unacceptable.
Before you go away, we know you're a basketball star and do the twirling of the ball and you got all this kind of thing.
My husband.
There was a woman who looked exactly like you. It was almost scary, throwing out a first pitch. There's the video. at Fenway. Actually, she has the same last name as you. Was that you?
Imposter.
How intimidating was that, by the way?
Oh, yeah, it's a ball. I grew up. It was such a treat.
Did you bounce it or you get it there?
No, I got it there.
Okay, sorry, excuse me.
But you know, it was great, and I really appreciate the Sox for celebrating Pride Night.
know that.
Happy Pride, and they have been wonderfully supportive of the LGBT community. So I was offered an opportunity to go toss out the first pitch, and I couldn't spin that.
Happy Pride.
Thank you so much.
But she can spin a basketball. I've seen it firsthand. Maura Healey, it's good to see you. Thanks.